Hi, my name is Autumn Gant, and this video is on my reflection um, while practicing reflective listening and productive assertion. Okay, so my big conversation, I was practicing it, but I think the most impactful one was my conversation with my stepdad. Um, and so the dispute was that, excuse me, was over should there be an LGBTQ plus marriages? Like, should that exist? Should it be legal? Things like that. And so my position was yes, his position was no. And when we began the conversation, it was very values based, where I felt that my reasoning was equality. Like, everybody should be able to get married. And his reasoning was he felt like marriage was, so it started out like broad. He felt like marriage was for a family. And I think we kept playing with that, like, and digging deeper and getting more nuance into what does family mean to you, because adoption is a thing. So that, or and then asking about, like, yeah, so I'm trying, I guess the order doesn't matter of like how we narrow, but that was the premise, like, of the conversation. It started kind of broad, and then we just kept getting more and more specific about things that he thought was the reason why he didn't agree with LGBTQ plus marriage. And the resolution came about because so his fundamental value was that marriage should be had by people who can reproduce. Like, that is a necessary element of marriage. You should be able to reproduce in order to get married. And it was cool because I got to make it personal. And so because I know him and my mom's marriage, I could ask, like, well, do you all plan to have children? And he said no. And so then the answer was, well, I mean, the question then became, like, why did you all get married if you had no intention to have children? And I think that was a big, like, oh, like, I don't think he had thought about how his interests were, or not even interests, but his actions and his values, like, didn't align all the way. And yeah, that was very cool to be able to, like, watch and participate in. It was fun. I think that the conversation wasn't easy and it wasn't hard either. Like, I think it was uncomfortable. But I don't think uncomfortable is hard, but it's just, uncomfortable. Yeah, I think that it was practice in slowing down, because you have, for me, my brain is like, I'm sorry, it's like something in my eye. For me, my brain is moving, like, okay. um yeah, my brain is thinking while someone is talking, like thinking of my response. um and in this, I had to listen to what he was saying, not listening to respond, but listening to hear him. And I think that he did the same. I think that um I asked him a lot of questions, and I will provide like examples of a nuanced situation. Like, for example, when he said that like marriage is for families, then I would say like, well, what about adoption? Like, LGBTQ plus people can still have families. And then, yeah, we would nuance it that way. So I think that was practice in listening, definitely. And just slowing down to hear what he had to say, but also still say what I had to say too. And I think another important aspect of the conversation was like, I had to practice being curious with the intention, like intentionally curious. I couldn't try to convince him of anything. I just had to understand why he felt the way he felt. And then we could have, a back and forth about, well, why do you feel that? Why? Because he was also asking me too, like, well, I think for me, it wasn't really a lot of questions about why I felt like equality was the answer. Because he still, in his head, he thought he was believing in equality too. And he, has no problem with LGBTQ plus relationships. It's just marriage. And so, yeah, it was cool to get to the bottom of it and show him that his interests were, aligned. If I said that, I'm sorry. Yeah. So the reaction was, we're both impressed because I don't think either one of us was expecting that. And so yeah, that was cool to watch, like, real time. Yeah, that it was a cool conversation. So yeah, I definitely feel like we were impressed. And I think that, I know for me personally, I felt like a weight lifted it off of my shoulder. Like, once we realized, like once we had the, well, why did you get married? And seeing his like, oh, like, felt really good. And I think for him, because he even said like, well, I guess I don't have a problem with it. I don't know. That felt good. And this also taught me how, maybe I shouldn't say taught me, but it excited me to have these conversations more. So I am definitely excited to practice, and specifically excited to practice on a situation where there's an outcome that we both, are trying to come to, like a negotiation situation. Yeah, so I'm very excited to see how that plays out, where like, yeah, I just feel like it'll be different in the sense of, because I know I'm competitive and I want to win. And so I think even that was good practice. Like, not saying this is winning, but like in a negotiation, like it's hard to not see it as winning. So yeah, I want to practice that. And yeah, I. Oh, it's past 10. Okay. I think this is it. But I really did enjoy this conversation, and it made me excited to, um, I don't know, just be conscious of what are people's position, what are people's interests, their values, their need, like, and really playing with that. And is this a power conversation, a power based conversation, a rights based conversation? Like, how are we? Yeah. Okay, that's it.